I want to send my condolences out to his friends and his family. I've known Brian since I was a teenager when I lived in Monaca, Pennsylvania, and he's a good guy, Brian was. He was definitely somebody nobody wanted to mess with, man. Brian was a tough dude, and he was never a bully, though. Didn't throw his weight around, and he struggled like a lot of us do, and he was in and out of jail, but seeing he's turning things around, and this tragedy happens, and he's going to be missed. So I want to dedicate this episode 3 of Degenerate to him, and I want to thank all the supporters we've had so far along the way. And also, we have our Shopify and Printify store up and running. Having a couple problems getting the...
Hi, welcome to Degenerate Nation Episode 3. If you haven't seen 1 and 2, go back and watch them. I'm here with Hardcore Smitty, the creator of Degenerate Nation, to have an in-depth, up-close and personal interview to allow people to see what motivates him and what Degenerate Nation is all about. How are you today? Are you ready to answer some questions?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I guess so. I'll answer some questions. Let's do it.
Okay. You want to help people coming out of prison. What qualifies you to do that?
Okay, first off, I became a certified recovery specialist last May, so I've had that for about a year, and then I also went and I got a forensic peer enhancement to be able to work with individuals that are involved in the criminal justice system. And a lot of experience doing it.
How does the forensic come in? Where does that come in?
Well, the forensic part is that that comes in with dealing with the criminal justice system, dealing with individuals who've been incarcerated or had some type of police involvement in their life, and I have plenty of experience doing that.
That clears that up a little bit. So what gave you the idea to start Degenerate Streetwear?
Well, the guy got the idea to start this Degenerate Streetwear because I was always drawing things, and and always had was always wearing like graphic T-shirts. So concert shirts always wore. That's all they wore as a kid. Harley shirts. So those are the type of things that that I liked, and I always think, man, I could make a better one. And so started designing my own stuff.
What got you into art?
Well, I got into art probably because of music. I would go shopping for records. I would spend hours at the record store just going through the records, looking at the artwork on them. Just look at the record covers, the album covers, and back then, it was a whole experience when you bought music because you had liner notes you could read. You had the art, it was on the album cover itself, and then there were posters that pulled out from them, and then you got to listen to it. It was a whole experience. It's kids they miss out on that today, but that's what got me into it. I would say was the music I was listening to, the cover work on the album covers, and the T-shirts.
Is that where your inspiration comes from?
Yes, absolutely. It comes from from music, hardcore, punk, speed metal, and also from custom motorcycle culture. I loved reading Easy Rider as a kid, and then when I got into motorcycle myself, the whole culture that surrounds it and the art that goes with it, that, and also I guess it would be the graffiti and the prison style tattooing.
Is that where your art comes from? Mostly as prison, like a lot of it revolves around like prison styles and things like that. I just didn't know if that's where it started and.
Yeah, it did start there because being in prison, I was very bored, and so as a kid, I would draw all the time. Like I would doodle on the back of my tests instead of doing the test itself. I would just flip it over and just draw on the back of it and on my book covers. And then I was in prison. I was bored, so I started drawing, and then the more I did it, the better I got at it. And there's a whole style of art that's in prison, that people were doing on their handkerchiefs and stuff and all different things, and it's been overlooked, and now I really dig it. So I put it into my shirts and did
You're all
designs.
self-taught then?
Self-taught, yeah, absolutely, yeah, self-taught myself.
How old were you when you were arrested the first time?
I was arrested first time at 11. I had been questioned for arson at 10 by the FBI because a bunch of records got burned that were by a company. They were from a company that were being investigated. But first time arrested, 11, shoplifting, 1981.
Oh my goodness! How many years did you spend in prison altogether?
Over 20.
Oh my God. How has spending the majority of your life impacted you in living in society today?
Well, I guess it impacts me because I don't feel like the values that that I've acquired over the years, they don't translate so well here. You know what I mean? And I expect people to kind of live as people did in there. You know what I mean? If you bump into somebody, you say excuse me, and if you don't say excuse me, don't be surprised when you get punched in the face. Here, you do those types of things. They arrest you, and
most of the time people aren't nice and don't apologize.
They aren't.
So, how do you deal with that?
Well, I guess I've limited my involvement with people. I don't come around people as much as I should. Maybe I don't know. I don't. I got to the point now. I expect them to act their worst. You know what I mean? And when they don't, I appreciate it. And I just try to worry about myself. The way I'm acting. If I'm acting okay, usually that energy I'm putting out there is coming back to me, and people will treat me okay. And I really haven't had any problems lately. And it's been getting better.
Do you feel included in this society?
Not really.
No,
I don't really feel included in this society, and that's okay, because I tattooed myself at the beginning because I was different. I wanted to be different. I didn't want to be part like everybody else, but now everybody has tattoos, so I don't want to be a part of this society. In the fact that that it's a bunch of bullshit. Everybody's fake. So I create my own society, and I'm a part of that one.
Yeah. You were in a couple of death metal bands in your teens and early 20s. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I was in a band called Sathanos. They're still making music today, and we started that band, me and Paul Tucker, back in the late 80s. We were in a band called Monstrosity first, and then things didn't work out quite so well, so we started Sathanos, and then we got my brother to play bass, and he didn't even play bass, but I knew that he could. He was a smart guy. He could do anything he wanted. And so then another guy, Billy Smiley, on the drums, and Brian Axtell, who was my landlord's kid, and he had the practice space. So we got together and made some pretty good music. And then that thing fell apart. They wanted to go a different direction. And then I got with this guy named Vincent Crowley. He had just moved to Pittsburgh from Columbus, Ohio. And he already had a band going, Asheron, and he had music written and stuff. So me and my brother Dave got with him, and we recorded some stuff with them, the Messe Nord demo, and then another future release. And it was a good time. It was one of the best times of my life. And I always look back on it with fond memories.
So any plans on recording any more?
I would like to do something before I died. I would like to record an album of songs that I like, the cover songs. Like I was thinking about doing something called Under the Influence, and having two CD set, one hardcore and one metal, And if I get some guys, you know what I mean, that I know that maybe go with me on that, and yeah, maybe we could do that.
Nice. You've written a couple novels, and what were they about? And are they published yet, or tell me a little bit about it?
Yeah, I've written 2 novels. I wrote a novel called Max Out was the first one I wrote, and then I wrote another one called Down. And I read some books that were these urban fiction books while I was in prison, and I was like, wow, I can do this. And so I wrote Max Out, and so it was kind of like these urban fiction books were like crime books based in an African American culture. You know what I mean? So I said, well, I want to do one based on some white trash culture. You know what I mean? Because we do the same kind of shit too. So I wrote the Max Out about a guy. You know what I mean? Who gets caught up in the system, and he maxes out his sentence, and hopefully thinking he's going to be done with everything, and he's not. You know what I mean? Nothing ever ends. This cycle just continues. And then I wrote Down, which is kind of like a little bit was semi-autobiographical. It's about a guy who was put into the system at a young age, and he's a bright guy, and he could have did so much more, than what he was, and they didn't find out until it was kind of too late. You know what I mean? That this wasn't exactly the life for him, and neither one of them have been published yet. I'm about to publish them, so. I'm going to self-publish them, and yeah, they should be coming out within a year.
You're presently writing a memoir right now, right, as well?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that a little bit?
My memoir, I'm calling it, the working title anyway is White Trash Legend, A True Story by H.C. Smitty. And it chronicles my life, starting from the point where I was first incarcerated at 14 years old. And, writing, it's been a journey, I dig into some stuff, that I haven't dug into in a long time, and it's therapeutic.
What is Degenerate Nation? What plans do you have for that?
The Degenerate Nation is, it started out with I did a thing one time that I wanted to get off the ground called Artist Co-op, Cell Block 9 Artistry, right? So it kind of born from that. Cell Block 9 Industries is an LLC that I started where I was going to sell motorcycles and do tattoos, and it was going to be an umbrella for a bunch of other different things I wanted to do. So I still have that. So the Degenerate Nation does fall under that, but the Degenerate Nation is kind of the same thing. It is an artist collective of people who've been incarcerated, and taking their talents and utilizing them, in one place. Well, we want to be the vehicle for them to get their things off the ground. So someone has written a book, they're in prison. We want to be able to take that book, edit it, and get it published. And also, their artwork. So if they have their paintings, drawings, whatever it is, we want to be able to put it up on our website, or in a gallery, some type of setting where they can be purchased by the public, and the prisoners will be able to receive this money. And we want to be able to everyone who works with Degenerate Nation has been incarcerated or is a loved one of someone who has, but they're tied into this because at any time there's 2 million people locked up in the United States. So, this has affected, everyone. Like I said before, one of the episodes, that, people in prison are people's sons, their daughters, their nephews, their cousins, their friend, their neighbor. They're not monsters for the most part. Like I said, there are monsters there. However, the majority of people aren't. But this is a place, where we've all come together and we're taking the creativity and talents that we have, betting them, putting them together, and making each other stronger.
That's awesome. What's with the white trash peckerwood art in your clothing? What's all that all about? And the pedos pray. What's that about?
Well, I put that in there because when I see a lot of stuff, this white privilege thing and all that stuff. I know nothing about this. There's no white privilege for me coming up. If they have some, I'd like to have it. If they could send me some, I'd be really grateful. People get the wrong impression with this stuff too. I don't put this out as put down any other race. I don't care what color anyone's skin color is. I don't judge people by the color. I judge people by their actions. But also, I'm proud to be who I am. They've made being white a derogatory term. So I'm not buying that. And so I take that Peckerwood thing. And I'm proud to be one. Not all whites are Peckerwoods, but all Peckerwoods are white. However, a Peckerwood is a dude who's done some time or in prison. It's a solid dude. He's a stand-up dude, down for his. That's what a Peckerwood is. And so yeah, that's what I am. And I put that out, on some of my clothes, and the white trash legend, that stuff like that, and just to embrace it.
And pedos pray. What about that one?
And pedos pray. Listen, I have no love whatsoever for child predators. Child predators to me are the bottom of the barrel. And so yeah, I'm gonna do whatever. I can't go around, and putting bullets at them because I'll go to prison. However, I'll do everything else I can to make their life miserable. And we all have children. And I want my children to be safe in this world, and other people's children to be safe as well. And these people, they've ruined so many lives, and a lot of times they get less time in prison than someone, who sold some drugs, just because they have a drug habit, and then they said they think they're not criminals. Shit.
So who's a degenerate?
A degenerate is anyone who does not obediently follow the authorities, and it just without questioning it. A degenerate is someone, who thinks for themselves. Who doesn't just, someone who doesn't do what they're told is a degenerate. A degenerate is someone, who thinks for themselves and is not a sheep, is not a follower. That's who a degenerate is.
Do you have anything else you want to add today?
I'd just like to say, I appreciate the support that we've had so far. It's just starting off small. I hope to grow it big. I hope we get a whole bunch more people into the Degenerate Nation. You do not have to be a former convict to be part of the Degenerate Nation. You become a degenerate, if you want to stand up to this other thing, to the powers that be, and change things in your world, be able to do what you want and be left alone. That's why I ride my motorcycle, I want to do the things I want to do, and I want to be left alone.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that was Hardcore Smitty, the creator and shot caller at the Degenerate Nation. Also owner of Cell Block 9 Industries and ordained minister. Thank you all for watching, and watch all 3 of our episodes. Thank you.
Thanks. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to Degenerate Nation. And we had a great time, and I want to thank my wife, Shelly Smith, for doing the interview. I think she did a terrific job. She didn't want to be on camera, and I guess I understand that. But she did an excellent job. I hope you guys think so as well. And leave stuff in the comments and you'd like us to see on the coming episodes and stuff you'd like to see us change. And I would like to thank everybody for the support we've received so far, and hopefully this only grows from here. And again, the episode was dedicated to Brian Waddell. He's going to be missed, man. God was a good dude, and we've lost too many good people. Way too young, too early. And Brian was no spring chicken. He was no kid, but he was only in his 50s. It's still way too young to leave this earth, and still so much more you could do here. But he says, he is on to his next chapter, and we're gonna miss him. Anyway, next week I'm gonna try to have a friend of mine on. He got 26 years in prison, and man, he was such a big help to me when I got out. Man, he was there for me and supported me, and really, if it wasn't for him, I might have went back. I really would have, and but he was there for me, man, and he just did 26 years, so he knew what the struggle was about, and he still faces it every day. And however, he overcame, and he's doing great, man. And just like he came out, and he put his nose to the grindstone, and he got everything that he wanted. and he just did till he got it. He just kept it going, worked a job, for $8 an hour, and just kept going, and they saw something, and they gave him a raise, and gave him a bump up, and and he's bought bought a nice truck, get a nice Ford F-150, bought a nice Harley Davidson motorcycle, bought a house. He's living the American dream, and he did 26 years straight. So, this guy can do it, anybody can do it. And, he's a living testimony to, the power of resolve, and discipline, and having a code. I know I was lost when I didn't have a code. So, I have one now, and it seems that, I have a rudder. And anyway, thanks again for tuning in. And, check out my man, Cuzzo Costo's show. You guys, this guy, man, he's got a story, man, and it is one hell of a story, and it is a very interesting watch. I seen this kid, when he was just wild, and he's really bringing it together, man. I'm proud of him, and I also want to get, him on the show, and another guy, Benny Schultz, to get him on here too. We all did some time together, and Benny, man, is a great tattoo artist, and so maybe get on the show, and we both tattoo Cuzzo. Maybe Benny tattoos me too. We'll make it work. You know what I mean? But anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you guys all in about a week, maybe two. Take it easy.